I'm Dominik Havsteen-Franklin. I'm a professor in practice at Brunel University, and I'm also a consultant in art therapies for the National Health Service in the UK. So I'm sort of bridging two research domains. One is sort of health and the kind of medical world, and the other one is very much kind of arts-based. So I'm that sort of person that tries to bridge both languages really, and sort of where we meet somewhere in the middle to create something that's quite innovative.
You've done a case study on SoundWheel?
Yeah, so basically we listened. I listened to myself, and I have a research assistant, and we listened to this, and we thought actually there's something about what happens with us and the way that Christian had talked about the SoundWheel. We're thinking about there's something about this emotional space. Because of course we know that if we are more in tune with our emotions and we're able to kind of be with them in meaningful ways, this also has implications for other health issues like anxiety and depression and so on. So to my mind, if this first step of making sense of this emotional experience can happen, we can also then think about what effects it can have further down the line. So our first proposal was just to kind of say, well, can we get like 20 or so people together into 4 groups, young people, older people, students, employed. Let's see if they have a similar experience or not, and begin to get a sense of whether this could have impact on other kinds of health issues. So our question was around emotion. Does this impact on emotional embodiment? So our results were much better than expected, I must say, because actually across the board, all participants said they benefited emotionally from listening to the music, usually 1 or 2 times a day, between 1 week and 2 weeks. Okay, so it's almost like a little sort of experimental social prescription. So people were beginning to take this as part of their daily routine, getting up in the morning, taking 10 minutes of this music before they go to bed, or in the evening taking another 10 minutes. And people talked about that actually it wasn't just, that once they tuned in emotionally, they felt much more conscious of the possibilities of changing boundaries about who they were into something that felt more realized as a better self, if you like, a sort of future self. Something they really respected and valued about themselves came out through this musical experience. And it was like the music sort of I expect them to feel more embodied in their bodies as a kind of physical form. What we found is there was actually a kind of shifting, that they began to see potentials that they hadn't imagined before. This is one thing. So, for example, and this is of course anecdotal, but it's one of the participants talked about really trying for a few years to have a child, and they kind of struggled, and the partner struggled. They spent 2 weeks listening to this music, and they said at the end of this 2 weeks, they were still trying for baby, and she became pregnant. And now I asked him very specifically, so do you think this was realistically to do with the music? I mean, there's lots of things in your life, are there other factors? No, definitely. This was the music. I was in a different mental state. We were both in a different mental state where we could conceive, all right? So he was over the moon, very happy. The focus group were congratulating him. But it was like, for him, it was like this actually meant that I could live my life differently, in a different state of mind. That meant that the most important thing to us at that time was having a baby. We could do that. It's quite a remarkable kind of event to happen. We also heard a lot about people feeling much more included. Some members, quite a lot of members said it put them in touch with a sense of ancestry, heritage, sort of cultural values. They felt sort of at home was a very big theme. So saying actually, I felt kind of sometimes feel very displaced or uncomfortable with being in social spaces. When I began listening to this quite regularly, I wasn't anxious about going into new social spaces. So one person talked about getting very anxious about going into work. And she said, actually, I felt like I could meet and connect with people at work in a way that I couldn't do before, because I just was too filled up with anxiety. I didn't feel at home, So that was quite a profound sort of finding. And they both sort of related in our minds to this emotional attunement produced through the music, but also a sense of embodiment that went beyond the music. So now experienced themselves, their self-identity, their emotions, their bodily experience, their environmental experience, and their social experience differently on the whole. Yeah. We said, okay, so if it's not a typical meditation app, what is it? What have you just experienced? And somebody sort of wrote in bold, a possibilities app, which I thought was quite a sort of beautiful summation. Possibilities app. It's like, so, and I guess this is essentially one of the key features of what we try to mobilize in therapies anyway, in kind of mental health context, is really thinking about people's own sort of resources for making change around them. Often people feel like they're quite closed in, things are happening to them, they don't have any kind of resources to really impact on their lives or other people's lives. And then there's one thing about opening up and saying, well, actually, there's some responsibility here. You have this ability, it's responsive, and this is something about your own energy, power, way of seeing the world, that can be heard. Yeah, and you can mobilize change.